Hey, hey, what's happening, everybody? It is the Iron Father. Welcome to the Iron Father Show remote today. I am traveling. I'm not gonna lie, I am tired. Been up after only about 3.5 hours of sleep, traveled across country, then drove another 3 hours because I'm a road dog Iron Father like that. Welcome today, y'all. I can't even talk loud. I can't be as loud as I normally would. Don't have my mic either, and I don't want everybody down in the hotel to hear me. But Derrick, you can talk as loud as you want to. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome, everybody. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We're gonna send out that APB on Eddie Vance.
I
Either that, or
know.
we're gonna have to go ahead and find that replacement. I don't know what my man doing to us. But that's all right. That's all right. We're gonna hold it down for him today because I thought he
That's right.
would like this one, but the round table continues on for all you Eddie Vance fans. Don't worry. I will bring some shades in, but I ain't doing that.
Right.
But man, it's some stuff I definitely wanted to talk about today. That I talked to with some brothers over this last week especially. But um, I'm going to throw the topic out there, and then I'm going to go and read some comments that we got from YouTube. But I'm going to throw
Okay.
the topic out there in case there's some crossover, and you can have it kind of in your brain as we talk to have context to everything else. The topic that I want to ask and throw out today to you is something that someone asked me, and I've talked about this again with some guys for the last couple of years. The question: is marriage worth it?
Wait a minute. I think I apologize. I lost your screen here. There
Oh
we
no,
go.
no problem.
Okay. All
All
right.
right,
Sorry about that.
all good, all good. Is marriage worth it? Now, because we talking to you iron fathers out there, men over 50, that either A, you are kind of at that point where maybe you're going to stay in your marriage, maybe you won't. B, for those of you who are already in the process of getting out of your marriage. And C, those of you who are already divorced, you may be at that dating point. You may be like us, where technically, if you wanted to get married Monday, you technically could. You all your other ends are tied. You free to do what you want to do. So in that context, dear, for the guys, especially 50 or over, and maybe for the guys like I was just a few years ago that are asking that question, is marriage worth it? That's what I want to talk about today. Now,
Okay.
I'm going to throw out my first point and then we'll continue on. My first point to all of this, so we're not so ambiguous, is what the heck is it? I'm gonna just leave that there and we can come back to it. Did you have anything you wanted to add on that first preamble right there?
No, I mean, whenever you're ready to have the conversation, we can just jump right in.
All right, perfect, perfect. All right, so with that, just kind of as the foundation, I want to go ahead and we're going to do some comments that we had for some viewers. I want to thank all the viewers that take the time, especially like this viewer that took the time to write this comment. It was well thought out. We actually had a little bit of a back and forth, and I appreciate that so much. Look, we're not here to win fans. We all old dudes. So the day and age of us just saying stuff to go along and get along, that's all over with. So we know we're gonna ruffle some feathers. Plus, this is the public. You're not gonna be right for everybody. So if you have something you want to say, feel free to leave us a comment. Like the video if you like it, and hey, give it a thumbs down if you don't. But either way it goes, let us know. It helps the algorithm, first of all. And most importantly, when you take the time to give us feedback, we want to be able to incorporate in the show and be able to explain things a little bit more. In this case, this comment was actually to a short. No, let me see how long this video was. No, it was a segment of our longer video where we talked about a stepfather. The title of this video was, I titled it Stepdad Regrets, Loving Kids Who Disappear After Divorce. So the comment we got, and I want to thank commenter, Sometimes I Get Carried Away. Thank you for very much for your comment. So Derrick, here is what she said. When men come on the internet complaining that they didn't really know their partners until after they were deeply committed to them, I wonder why I never see them giving pushback to the constant victim blaming of BW. Maybe that's black women. I'm not sure.
Vic,
Blame, huh?
is it V as in Victor?
B as in boy. BW.
Oh, hmm.
Yeah, BW that they should have chose better. I also don't really
Black
get.
women. Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm thinking. It might have been black women. So if I read that in context, if that's what it is, I wonder why I never see them giving pushback to the constant victim blaming of black women that they should have chose better. I also don't really get the whole regretting loving a child that disappears thing. My stepdad was cool, but he stayed in his lane as a stepdad. We don't keep in touch. We don't keep in touch after he divorced my mom, but there are no hard feelings. Life goes on. He's not my dad. He was a decent guy who was married to my mom. It would be super weird if he was on the internet complaining about regretting the time we spent together. Now, I think that actually may be more in the context of your story, because that was
Sure.
something that shared that you had went through on how the
Hmm.
relationship was really severed after you got your last divorce from her kids and
Right.
your stepkids and afterwards. So is there any comment that you want to kind of say back to her? And she did explain it a little bit further. And I can read my comment, but first I just want to throw that over there to you.
I absolutely. I mean, I guess there's a couple of things. It's not about victim blaming. It's about, I mean, it's a realization that for me, it was a realization. Again, I'm speaking only for me, that now I need to go through a full season because a full season for me is minimally 1 year. I didn't take that before I met, married her and gone and had gone through all those things. It's not a matter of victim blaming, but the reality is when someone puts on a facade and turns around and becomes somebody else and pulls the wool over your eyes, that's not a I am the victim. That is a bona fide victim there at that point because
Mm,
you didn't sign up for that. Somebody bamboozled you and into doing a situation and they had ill intentions involved. Now I have no regrets about the time I spent with the kids. My point is I wanted more because I saw when you get married, the number one thing that a woman will tell you is now you got to treat these kids like they mine, like they yours, and da 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 da. And I took that on. I was good with that. But my kids don't leave me after a divorce. I don't leave them after a divorce. I'm there. And here's the good thing is all her kids, which were four of them, three by one and one by another, all of them had fathers. They had two fathers. And I've had the conversation with them, and that was all good. You know, that was something that she had decided, and it was exclusively her decision. It didn't involve me nor the children. You know, so
mm,
that's one of the problems that I had. Now, when she made the comment about the stepdad stayed in his lane, I take a position with that. One, his lane should be to be there for you and her. What
mm,
lane is he supposed to be in? He's not he as a stepfather, he's doing everything he's supposed to do like a father. Matter of fact, he's doing more because he is there day to day. He
mm,
is making sure you're there, making sure you're on the insurance, making sure things are getting paid, making sure you got food, making sure you're getting all the things done as a child, as well as taking care of your mother to the degree that they had agreed to. So his lane is the full lane. He has full rights to everything as long as you are with him. Now, if you went 50-50, now when you were with him, he's responsible. When you were with your dad, he's responsible, but he didn't have a lane per se. That lane was just as much as with your mom because now, again, let's understand what marriage is. You two come together as one. So when your mother had decisions, it was also his decision. When he had decisions, it was also her decision. So if we want to look at the true essence of marriage, I think she's there is no lane. I am the lane. The lane is us, meaning her, me and my wife or her mother and my stepfather. And here's a side note. The I guess you would say the boundaries or the outside of the travel lane would be your actual real dad because he's on the flip side of the street because the street that you live on consists of your mother and me, meaning if I'm your stepdad. The reality
mm.
is she had it twisted. She thought less of the stepfather, but here's and I'm gonna pull one of yours there. It's only the vision of the mother. So He
That's right.
only she only thought he was had a lane because the mother put him
Yes.
in a lane. That's the reality of it. She didn't put him as an equal heir and an equal voice, and that's probably why they're divorced. Now,
Mm.
I'm saying this because guess what? I felt it too. My when in my situation, mine, and it wasn't it wasn't up to me. It was up to her. She's the one that decided all those things. And I had no choice in the matter. But again, that's why we're no longer together. So, I mean, that's all I can say. There is no lane.
That was great. And like I said, we had a back and forth, so I won't read, because I gave a long comment. She gave another one back. She is a self-described spinster. I had to look. I've heard the term spinster. Oh,
I
so
have too, but I don't know what it is.
I did too. I had to look up. I was like, I know I've heard spinster before and look it up. But a spinster is a woman that's not married and with no kids and basically just living her life. So that I had to put into context. And I was glad she said that.
How
And
old is she?
let me see. I don't know if she actually mentioned. She did say she was retired. So
Oh, she's older, older.
I don't think it says age. But you definitely retired. And like I said, it was really a great conversation. Again, thank you. Sometimes I get carried away
Right.
for a good back and forth. But I like what you said, because you said something similar, and I didn't go all the way into it like you just did, but I wrote it down. You hit two things. I'm gonna go back to the one, whose lane, because that is true. Who paves the lane? I kind of insinuated that in my comment back to her, but you're right. It is the mother that actually paves the lane. Where was that
Mm-hmm.
lane going? So, in my response, I said a lot of times it is the mother that kind of pushes that guy and first says, we come as a package deal. So if you
Yep.
love me, you have to love my kids. And if people get attached to animals, so much where they will pay their vet bills. They now get health insurance on them. They cry. I will say cry like a dog, but they cry when the animal goes. And an animal, sorry folks, but an animal is an animal. And I do think a child has more bonding with another human being than an animal. If you don't like that,
Right.
sorry. But I think to think
Right.
that we can keep our emotions and our feelings that separate, to be like, you ain't mine, the man that would do that gets castrated now in the public discourse when guys go in and say, hey, don't get with a single mom, don't get with a mom that's raising kids, because this is going to happen to you emotionally, etc. If we already teach men to say, hey, you got to be responsible. If you get too close to that kid, you need to stay in your lane, then okay, a lot of guys are going to choose to check out then. But
Right.
otherwise, who can expect to turn it off? And I love the fact you said two becoming one, because that is true. If we going through marriage vows, and if that, now she did say she's an atheist, because we did go into religion a little bit. She said she's an atheist, so I don't know what her vows would have been. But
Well,
it,
wait, but oh my goodness, that when someone says they're an atheist, then it says, okay, so like you said, vows. Then what are you getting married for? Because
that,
you get
that,
married under the eyes of God and so forth. But there's also getting married under the legal aspect of it. But again, she's a spinster, so she doesn't believe in marriage either.
so I guess this case it would have been her mother. So I don't know what her mother. Maybe her mother was a traditionalist and got married. I don't know. But you're right. I certainly, if you're going to make those vows, and if you're going to say we both become one, and we know as men, becoming one, especially, we'll just go back a few decades, becoming one meant financial as well. So you're taking care of that woman's child. You're getting
Mm-hmm.
health insurance on that woman's child. So then to still keep that child and be like, I got my lane, I ain't your daddy, it doesn't
Right.
work that way.
Right, right. I mean, the old saying is when you do the actual math, when a woman comes in with her children, it's 2 to 1. So I'm as the man, I'm 1/3. So I'm only
Mm,
responsible for 1/3 of the expenses. You got to come up with the 2/3. But that's usually
mm,
not the way it works.
that's not the way. That's true.
You got to come up with 4/5 and 3/9 of a quarter or whatever. Whatever.
We need something, right? You'd be like, we?
Yeah,
What?
exactly. But you also, if she's retired, let's put something another spin on this. her mother's from old school, where
Yes,
they
that's
didn't
true.
believe in divorce, but yet they did. She was stepdad. Okay, and then stepdad divorced as well after the marriage. So that meant, in essence, potentially two marriages that the mother had gone through back in the day.
Yeah, could have been the
So
case.
the
You're right.
traditional values she didn't have anyway, meaning mom. And this is not a fault of the mom. It's just it is
Right.
what it is. But that also puts a different spin on things, Spencer.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's just one of those different things. Is that it's not one of the modern day situations where women just say, you know what, I've had enough. I'm out. I'm not going to put no longevity into it.
Yeah.
Something else is going on there.
That's very true. I think that would have been my grandmother, who was divorced twice. I think, wait a minute. No, grandfather was divorced twice. Yeah. I think my grandmother was divorced at least once or twice. So,
Okay.
I always go back to that book by the woman Stephanie Kuntz, The Way We Never Were, where in it she really documents that the whole 1950s old people saying, we didn't get divorced, we stayed married forever. Well, y'all may have gotten divorced less than people do now, but y'all still got y'all divorces and was getting you cheating in, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Shout out to that
Right.
video that we played with the old man talking about getting it at the juke joint.
Exactly. Or they didn't get divorced, but they didn't live together either.
Yes. Yeah, we know how that goes. They didn't get a legal divorce.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you also said something that made me think about it as well. I can understand her point about the stepdad staying in the lane, but again, to your point about maintaining that relationship, and it made me think of my son, his stepdad that later divorced his mom. Great dude. Great dude. And they still keep in touch to this day. So, my son shared with me, I feel blessed. I had really two great dads in my life because I
Hmm.
was always there. And then when his mom got married, because we were never married, when his mom got married, I think she married him when my son was 12. And so he was around for, I don't know, probably about 8 years until he was around 20 or so. So from
Okay.
his teenage years, he was
Right.
there also. And he said, man, it's good because I can still kick it and talk to both of y'all. So,
Hmm.
even when my son and I had our tougher times, his stepdad was there. And the cool part, and me and his stepdad, we never had any kind of beef, but he always kept his distance from me. I only remember one time he kind of was like, yeah, man, you wrong. Cause I got in my I was in that mode with my son's mama, his wife at that time.
Right.
Um, and then it was like he said something about basically I was wrong on how I was emotionally handling it. And I didn't like it at the time, but I think he was right. That was the only time we might have had any kind of clash. And so I think
Okay.
that's a great example of he didn't say after he divorced his mother, hey man, I ain't got nothing to do with her anymore, so I don't have nothing to do with you. No, my
Right.
son still says I can call him in a minute. We still call and keep in touch, and I'm glad about that.
Good. Yeah. And that was one of the hardest things. And again, it's not no, it's not. I mean, it's truly, believe it or not, some people that actually do, as she put it, victim blame. They actually are victims. I mean, that's
Mhm.
you have to look at it.
Great
It's like
point.
I didn't have any fault in doing it. It wasn't my choice not to see him. I
Yes.
had nothing. One day it was just over. Like, wait, I had a family of four other kids. Where they at? You know, and
Yes.
and the whole that's traumatic.
Yes.
That's literally that's like saying you got your kids and all of a sudden they're no longer there. You mourn them. That's
Yep.
traumatic. And even at the divorce, if you're so deeply into the family, her family, that too is a loss.
Yes.
I don't have a deep family connection, and I was all in the family. You know what I mean? I,
Yep.
and so, hey, more than having the rug pulled from underneath you, it was pretty traumatic for me. And yeah, and I do blame her. So if you want to say victim blaming, yes, I
You fine
blame
with
her
that?
for sure. I mean, you
Yes.
got to show up to participate.
Yes.
It takes two to make a marriage work. It takes one to make it fail. Trust and believe. She
Yep.
did enough for the two of us to make it fail. So I will put that on note right there.
And it's a solution. And I in my comment I said I don't think we want the solution, but we're about to get it in this society. Number one, there's still something in us that's wired. Now we ain't gonna go to the whole cuckold thing. but there's still something in a man that's wired that he wants to mentor or take on responsibility. He'll even do so of another man's child. And
Exactly.
so if it wasn't that way, then imagine if we go back thousands of years when war broke out and the men died. Then it had
Hmm.
to be even conquering men that came in and said, I'll take you and that kid on because I just killed your husband and brother, and
Right, right, right.
and the woman said, okay. And she got with the conqueror. We're now in a day and age where that may not happen in that kind of way because we got women that are choosing to be out by themselves. We may now start seeing the ramifications in civilization of men who don't want to take on that responsibility. And I hope the ladies are for that because now men may be doing, I think it was the Bronx Tale that had that classic statement, something like never get attached to something you can't walk away from in 5 minutes or in 15 minutes.
Mm.
So if more men, women, is that what you want? Do you want guys to not get attached to where, hey, if we divorce, I'm cool. I don't never see that kid again. Ain't no thing to me. Then what kind of relationship is he going to be able to have with your son or daughter then at that point? When, especially if they 5 years old or you now pulling your hair out, which I don't have to even do an example, you pulling your hair out stressed out because they won't do the dishes or they won't vacuum the floor like you told them to do. And you telling him, you need to get on him and tell them what to do. And he'd be like, ain't my kids. I don't
Yep.
get attached to nothing. I'm staying in my lane.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if somebody ever came up with that, and said that, you have to ask yourself, so what are you here for again? What are we getting married for? Like you said, is it worth it? The it piece, right?
That it.
The it.
Well, then you lead us right. Perfect segue. Perfect segue. Let's get to the main topic. Marriage, especially 50. Is it worth doing over again? Is it really worth it? Let me go ahead and start with a video that may help us launch this. Normally, I don't like AI channels, but shout out to Cuz. Thanks for sending this over. I thought, well, let's play some of this, and I think it'll really kind of be a good lead off for the discussion.
I keep having the same conversation with men in their 60s, and every single one is saying something that shocks their families. They're openly telling me, I'd rather die alone than date again. And these aren't bitter divorced men complaining in their apartments. These are successful men, stable men, men who've been married and know exactly what relationships require. Men who've tried dating recently and walked away not because they can't find someone, not because women aren't interested, but because they did something most people refuse to do. They calculated what it would actually cost them, and when they looked at what they'd have to give up versus what they'd get in return, the math was so clear, so undeniable, that they made a choice that terrifies everyone around them. Your family doesn't understand it. Your married friends think something's wrong with you. But if you've already made this decision, if you've already walked away, you know exactly why, and I'm going to show you why you're not wrong. You remember when you wanted a relationship, right? Not just wanted, needed it. You were in your 20s, maybe early 30s, and the idea of finding someone, building a life together, creating something that felt like the entire point. You'd see couples and feel that ache, that longing. You wanted someone to come home to, someone who chose you, someone to build a future with. The fantasy was so clear, a partner who supported you, respected you, made life better, a relationship that felt like teamwork. So you pursued it. You dated, put yourself out there, risked rejection over and over because you believed it was worth it. Maybe you found her. Maybe you got married and spent 10, 20, 30 years building something together, and you gave it everything. You provided for the family, protected everyone, showed up every single day no matter how you felt. You handled the responsibilities, absorbed her stress, managed her emotions, compromised your own needs to keep the peace. You did what you thought you were supposed to do because you believed in it. You believed that's what partnership looked like, give and take, sacrifice and reward, building something together, until something changed. Divorce, her death, the relationship just ending. However it happened, you survived it. You made it through to the other side, and you discovered something you didn't expect. Relief. Not the kind of relief you admit out loud, not the kind you tell your kids about, but real, deep physical relief, like a weight you'd been carrying for decades suddenly lifted off your shoulders. You could breathe again, After it ended, you started doing math you'd never let yourself do before. You started calculating the actual cost of what you'd been paying for all those years. You added up the compromises, the hobbies you gave up because she didn't approve, the friends who drifted away because maintaining the relationship took all your energy, the dreams you shelved because her needs came first, the peace you traded for keeping her happy. You looked at what you'd gotten in return. Companionship, yes, but at what cost? Your autonomy, your freedom, your ability to make decisions without negotiation, your right to live life on your own terms. Then you did the most dangerous calculation. You imagined doing it all again, meeting someone new, going through the courtship phase where everyone's on their best behavior, slowly discovering who she really is, her expectations, her requirements, the things she needs from you to be happy. You imagined the slow erosion starting again, the negotiations, the compromises, the managing of her moods, the emotional labor of keeping someone else satisfied while your own needs get pushed aside. You imagined her moving into your space, the space you finally made peaceful. You imagined her opinions about how you live, what you eat, how you spend your time. The questions, where are you going? Who's that? Why didn't you call? You imagined holidays with her family, social obligations, events you don't want to attend, dinners where you sit quietly while her friends talk about things you don't care about. And here's the calculation that changed everything. What would you gain versus what would you lose? The gain? Companionship, someone to talk to, physical intimacy, not being alone. The loss? Everything else. Your peace, your freedom, your money, your time, your autonomy, your right to be selfish with your own life. You did the math, and the math said, not worth it. That's when you realize something fundamental. You don't actually want a relationship anymore. You want the fantasy you had at 25, but the reality, you've lived it. You know what it costs, and you're not paying that price again.
I'm going to stop right there. We will pick it up, but I don't want to throw everything. I got to give a chance for us to chime in and comment. I want to play my man's video straight through. I thought that was a very good video. Um, I'm going to
Had some
first throw it
points in
over to
there.
you. What say you?
No, I mean, he had some points in there, and it is a reality check to say, okay, well, you definitely have to do a balancing act and do the math and see whether or not that's something you want to jump back into. I mean, it requires a lot of thought. It's not something that you should go in lightly. I mean, you got especially those that are getting a divorce recently or currently, and the thought of getting back in there probably answers an emphatic no, just because it's so soon and so early because that pain hasn't healed yet. For me, I wouldn't mind getting married again. I enjoy the companionship, not having to do the chasing and all of this stuff. But man, oh man, that woman's got to be top notch, peaceful, have good communication, excellent, effective communication. Let's make that perfectly clear. And we on the same page in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that she's just got to follow me, but we can compromise when we need to. And it's not a matter of me compromising to hers or her compromising always to me. But it has to work out for the two of us. And for me, I can speak for me because that other person hasn't been isn't there yet for me. So I would say, hey, it's got to work. I have to see that there's a viable solution. No blockages, no red flags. I mean, heck, you may get a couple yellow and that's it, but definitely no red flags. I've had enough of
Mm,
those. And
mm.
we always talk about that peace. If I don't see peace and I can't do this and I can't do that, and we have the situation with children this way and that way, I'm good.
I think it's funny he said 25 because I got married at 25. But I think if the it he was talking about, and as I said when we first started, before we went to the comment, the it, I don't think anyone really defines is it worth it? Well, what is the it? And so, what I want to do for myself, as well as for you guys out there, I'm trying to discover what is my it. I encourage you guys to figure out what is your it. Because if I had to just base on what we've seen in the video so far, the it that was achieved when you're 25 and young is it worth romance. That feeling that you got at 25, that feeling that this woman loves me and all the things that women got their Disney fairy tale, but we very much got our superhero fairy tale as well. Or we got
Mm-hmm.
our, either whether it's Leave It to Beaver, whether it's Good Times, whether it's, you think you're going to be Bill Cosby and Huxtables, what Cliff, whatever it is that you think I'm going to have this family, I'm going to have this strong family, that may be the it you're achieving. And then now I think you just went on to another it. Post 50, is it worth? What's the it? Maybe my peace.
Mhm.
Is losing my peace worth it? Worth the it here, marriage?
Right.
But what am I gaining? And I know that, that's what he put in the video. What are you gaining? Um, and so I'm kind of similar to you. One of the things I had to realize about myself, even being back out in the dating game, I actually don't mind being in a committed relationship. The question is, what am I committed to? And
True.
so now I define what I'm committed to. So if someone says, oh, a committed relationship means this, no, it means that to you. It may not
Exactly.
mean that to me because I
Exactly.
determine what my it is. So is it worth getting married? So is a woman worth me getting married again? If my it is marriage, not if you're talking about a traditional marriage where we go down to the courthouse and, like we talked about before, we're going to do the traditional, the two become one, because I already realized that, well, yeah, the two usually become one when we're speaking sexually, but the two don't usually become one when it's her money. Because then she keeps her money, again, like we talked about, girl, you got to save a little bit in case that man, the two don't become one then.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I now define with the agreement of a woman, the woman that I'm going to do whatever it is, we define what that it is and whether it's worth coming together. But go ahead, I'll throw it back over to you.
No, I mean you're absolutely right. When we talk about the it, we have to define what the it is, and to your point, it is up to me first because I'm part of that equation, and then she has to have her it piece, and they have to join together, and that equation has to balance. And that it could, we talk about marriages and so forth. Marriage is not just uh, any size will do and any size will fit. You have to, your
Mhm.
marriage has to be defined, and that is that it. And you have to say, well, this is what I'm okay with. I may want to hang out with my boys on a Wednesday. I want to go do
Yes.
this on a Thursday. Let's hang out. Let's have date night on Friday. Things like that. That is the it that you two have to come together and talk about it and come to a legitimate agreement. And sometimes your it may even include certain clauses like prenups and things of that sort.
Mm.
Again, you define what you want, so as long as you're fat, you're happy. As long as that compromise has equality. I mean, how many times we look at all these sports people, and I'm not in the sports, so I can't name the names. I just see these highlights of, oh, well, he just lost $20 million and he wasn't even married to her for a year.
Yes.
18 months and
Yes.
blah 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 blah. Oh no, that it was not defined. He saw a nice,
Yes.
voluptuous woman, attractive, this, that, and the third. He didn't lock his money in. Nobody pulled him aside, brother, man. You need to lock it down and say, if she's with me for 10 years, now she can have access to this money that I stored up this way. And again, back to that prenup. We're not saying you not have access to it 100%, but not off rip. You have to show that there's some validity to your cause here. You're not pulling the wool over my eyes. But again, back to that it, you have to define that. And I appreciate you even mentioning that it is important. It is marriage, sure, but what does it really mean? You
Yes.
can't just go in and say, well, traditionally, you're going to obey me, or I'm going to, through thickness and health, and sickness and health, and thick and thin, and blah, 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 blah. And if you got a big toe and it's always cold, don't touch me, whatever.
Right.
You better figure it out.
Yes. And I think I would say this applies only to the religious guys, which again, I know that audience very well. That's why I talk about it so much. But I think it applies even to the non-religious guys. The it that they don't want to admit, especially when they're younger, but I'll even say probably post 50 if they still hold that same worldview.
Mhm.
The it that they're talking about is that vulva. Hopefully it ain't this big, but it's that vulva.
Right.
Is that sex? Is the sex worth it? Is the sex worth you giving up half your 401k? Is the sex worth you paying so-called alimony or spousal support as known? Is the sex worth you perhaps losing access to your children, paying child support because she may decide she wants a divorce? Or is the sex worth you later on getting into a sexless marriage and you don't have a contingency plan if it gets to that point? Is the sex worth it? And at 25, I can tell you, speaking from experience, that was my it. That was my it. It wasn't romance. It wasn't that Terry, was it the dude Tony Terry, that lovey-dovey feeling I get. That wasn't it. That because I never had that. Not with my ex. I had that with my little high school girlfriend, but never had that with my ex. The it was guilt-free sex. And I'm honest enough to say that. Are you? I appreciate, I think the gentleman's name was like Paul Tripp or something like that. But Ted Tripp, he wrote a book, Every Christian Nice Guy, very similar to Dr. Robert Glover's Mr. Nice Guy. But it was like Every Christian Nice Guy or something like that. And it was so profound and it hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm like, that's me. Forget it. That's me all the way. Because he was talking about the Christian Nice Guy and he said that from what he's found, most Christian young men got married to have guilt-free sex. And that was it. It wasn't that they wanted to get married. It wasn't that they were so in love. That was their it. I think that's the same way for a lot of non-Christian men. But I also think that even over 50, it may not be due to morality that men want to do it all over again. I think they don't want to go out and hunt for it anymore. So the first woman they start dating that now gives them regular sex, and they see especially how much the wild, wild west is out here in the dating market. I think the first woman that may end up, we'll just say, touching them right, and they feel like, you know what, I can make her my wife. I would probably venture to say that again, sex is their it, and they're willing to jump back in again.
And it very well could be. I mean, but hey, if it's just a sex, you don't have to get married for the just a sex.
Well, but what if she wants to get married? Because she getting pushing 60 now, or she if you
Well,
got a younger one, maybe she pushing 50, and she don't want to because man, secondary virginity is a thing. She doesn't want to do it like she did before. She's gonna hold out
whatever,
till she gets a commitment.
whatever. Man, I don't know how many folks I've ran into. I'm trying to save it till I'm married. What? You got 3 kids, adult kids, been married twice, and you try it's like a used car. I'm gonna save it. For what? You better use it. You ain't gonna have it for long. Sorry.
And that's it. And I think it's probably a lot of dudes that still go for that. Like, well, she said, I mean, we've all read those dating app profiles to where don't contact me if this, don't contact, I'm looking for a
Mm-hmm.
long-term relationship. You 59 years old, talking about
I
getting a
want to take
long-term
it
relationship.
slow.
Yes. She's still dangling that it to get it if you want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when you go, Skip. Next.
I think we do that. And I think that's how we roll. But I think based on when I go through other websites and I'm looking at the dudes posting stuff and oh girl, any man, the comment section, if that's any indication, and the fact that let's be honest, the ladies wouldn't be out here putting it there unless it was working. So there's probably still enough dudes out there that's going for it.
Well, true that, true that. I mean, if you, I find it to be so, I don't want to get too far off left field, but you look at those profiles back in the day or whatever, and you see these women in loosely clad clothing, and oh, I don't want this, and I don't want this. Well, you advertising everything you got, you must want it. You don't know how to be a little bit more sophisticated, classy. You got all your stuff hanging out. I know every tattoo. 1, 2, 3, 18, 29, 54 tattoos you done got. All the piercings. I see them all over.
Right. Yep.
But
And
anyway,
then and
that's
then the bio says I'm tired of the bad boys.
right. Right. Exactly. I don't want just a one night stand. That's what kills me. I was like, do you realize that what you just said? I don't want just a one. I want a one night stand, but I want more than
Yeah.
just that.
Yes, exactly.
I said,
Exactly.
yeah, you done told on yourself now.
You told on yourself. And that's that thing. I at least want, and guys, definitely chime in. I at least want men to be honest. If your it is the sex that you're after, you're going to find yourself again, the old saying again, I always say, don't date at 50 like you were 15. When you were
Exactly.
15, you were trying to jump on anything that'll let you hit. You're 50 now. I
Yep.
hope you've upped your standards, your
Yep.
qualifications. And if you have any experience in this game, at least, even if you don't, I'm not saying you got to have a whole bunch of experience with women. Heck, I don't. You don't have to because like we talked about with a woman's body count. What's uh uh what's the level of game with a man's body count? Does it make a difference? Or if Wilt Chamberlain with his 2, 3, 5,000, whatever it was, maybe Wilt is the only one that can say, "Oh, I know women," and any of y'all who got less bodies than me don't know. No. The question is, what did you learn from those past relationships that makes you into the man that you are today? Because you can be a
Right.
dude with a triple digit body count and still be the biggest simp in the world because all you may be even paying for it the whole time. Who knows?
Well, that's true.
You
That's
can be
true.
bragging. And yet and every chick, every chick that'll let hit, you hit. And yet you still, every time you got married, a woman probably ran the relationship. And then you just was like, all right, I'm out and I'm just going to another one. Or she booted you. So it's not in terms of, when I'm not talking numbers now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying if a dude, I ain't never really had a girlfriend and they be up there in the comment section or going off, y'all guys are wrong. It's like, you ain't ever even dated a girl longer than a year in your life. When you did, you were 18. So I ain't saying
Right.
that either. But y'all know what I mean. What did you learn? And if your it is sex, you probably learn that that goes away pretty fast. That goes away real fast.
Mhm. Yep, yep, yep. And don't, you have to definitely make sure your it is not wrapped around ultimatums.
Mm,
Otherwise, that's just going to be like, what am I getting myself into? Because if you don't, if now it's that switching bait type situation or that carrot and stick. Hey, this is what you need to do. That old commercial. Oh, you got to be quicker than that. I got him. I got
yes.
him. You know,
Yeah.
no, it's just, I mean, it's a lot of pitfalls out there, but you have to be savvy enough and clear enough to know, first of all, who you are. We keep saying
Yes.
that.
We're
And
saying
then
that.
come back to say, hey, what do I want? What is my it? And is it worth it? Is it
Yeah.
worth it?
Okay. I think another it factor for a lot of guys, what is the it for them? I think it is they do not want the competition. So if I don't settle
Oh, you
down
mean
from other
you
men,
don't? Okay, okay. Trying to lock the woman down.
yes, let me lock her down because we know women are masters at, most women, because it's always going to be some woman in the comment section saying, I don't do that. So we just say most women. They're not going to go to another guy unless they
I
got
think
one.
your hotel
Oh,
internet is
Wi-Fi
acting
acting
up.
up. All right. I'm moving too
There
much.
you go. No,
They
you're
aren't
good.
going, they aren't going to jump from one guy unless they usually have another one lined up. And so women are pretty good at putting little feelers out there, like, my ex-boyfriend called me, or my ex-husband, or men be trying to, and then dudes start, uh-oh, uh-oh, biting fingernails. And then she's like, well, if you're not gonna commit and you're not trying to settle down, I'm gonna. And I guess it might still go back to the sex thing, but I think that's another element that it let me lock her down because she might be the only one. That's another it factor for them.
So okay, and you got a point there, but let me call it a different thing. You
Okay.
call it competition, I call it jealousy. All
Ooh.
right. So for me, I don't believe in dating having competition. I don't believe that that's a thing. You can be the you. I mean, I've dated women that makes good money, well over doctors, lawyers, whatever. I don't care about your money. That's not my it factor. So those I don't know, man. And I guess I'm saying that to say when we talk about jealousy, jealousy is a choice. Jealousy
Mm,
is a fear. And when we look at it, we have the choice of our fears. Because if that were the case, everybody would be afraid of the same thing.
mm.
So, when it comes to breathing, everybody needs oxygen. That's not a choice. That's a requirement. I don't choose to be jealous. I'll You know, if something comes up that appears to be along those lines, I'm gonna have a conversation and say, you know what, I'm not a fan of this. This doesn't feel comfortable with me. You know, jealousy is a feeling, it's an emotion, but it's also based on fear. Well, somebody's going to take them to your point. Okay, well, there's another guy out there. Well, you know what? If that guy is beating my time, there's no competition. She's going to choose him regardless of what I'm doing because I'm not going to start something I can't finish. Oh, let me go buy you this purse. Let me go take you here. Let me go. I can't do that again next year. I can't do it the following year. Look, this is what I got. This is who I am. That's my peace is part of my it. And those things needs to be a level of peace for me. I'm not going to stress out trying to make sure I can maintain what you think this other guy was going to give you.
That's right.
Guess what? You can have her.
Yes.
Because she's already showing you what she's about.
Man, you know, I would hope that at 50 years of age, we should have, and I know it's hopeful, wishful thinking, should have been able to deal with jealousy. But I have a feeling that most men still haven't been able to deal with that. Even
there's a perspective here, all right? So what gets somebody to be experienced in a profession with something?
Get them to be experienced at that profession?
It's what gets someone to have experience and or to be a professional at something.
Doing something.
So continuously doing it, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if you're married for 15, 20 years, you're getting no experience.
Yeah.
So you're not really experienced at dating and dealing with women. You're not really experienced nor a pro or professional at dealing with the emotions that come with being rejected and etc. So we talk about don't date like you're a 15-year-old, but sometimes that emotional connection is still close to that.
Yep.
So you have to work with what you have, and maybe these podcasts and these little sessions like this can be helpful because sometimes learn from somebody else's pain. No, don't do that, brother.
you know, it's funny. No, thanks. I think that's a great point about jealousy because we always joke around that usually, you know, as my dad taught me, when a woman is 30, she done put on at least 30 pounds. So for many men who got married early in life, and I think it's more than that now, but for many men, but that's why you can call me if you need some personal training. I got you. But built after 50, though, remember, I'm splitting everything. But if a guy looks at his wife, and she's put on a lot of weight. And we know even in the media where you had Steph Curry's wife making the statement about men not checking her out as much anymore, et cetera. You're exactly right. Most men, they probably dealt with jealousy from maybe, we'll just say from the time 18, if they started dating a girl, to maybe 30. But probably by the time she started dropping kids, got bigger, started, you know, looking more like a mom, they probably didn't have to deal with jealousy anymore, except unless she manufactured. Because let's be honest, I don't think most women still banging like that. That when they go out, that dudes are like, unless your wife is still on IG doing these pictures. And most women aren't. They might do it on the sneak tip on the sly, but most women really aren't doing that. Most moms or wives aren't doing that. Because if they are, you already know they out there. But most guys, I think you hit it. They haven't even their experience with that one woman has been in a non-competitive mode since probably high school and college. Or maybe if they started dating her in their workplace or something. And after they won the prize, after they won it, they didn't have to deal with jealousy and since then.
Not at all. But as you said before, bringing it back full circle, now they have to have that exposure when they're out there in the dating field and they don't have that commitment as far as, well, it's not the competition. I mean, I think it's more, if we really looked at it, I don't see dating as a competition. I don't care what, and I started to say that it doesn't matter what a woman has. She can be the best profession of this, making all this kind of money, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, I'm going to choose her or not, regardless of whatever. I have to feel, we talk about that I have to choose her because she is my it. Now, the thing is obviously it's a two side to that it. She has to choose me and I have to choose her type of situation. But when we get down to it, you got to make sure that you're choosing her based off of the correct foundation, the correct choice pieces. Don't do it because you have a fear of losing. Because if that fear of losing is going to be so strong that you're willing to give away so much of your existence, it's for the wrong reason.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Amen to that. Amen. Hey, I'll put myself out there on this one. When I started dating and my girlfriend now has been, there's even been some growth on the jealousy side for me.
mhm.
Because if we backed up maybe 5+ years ago, if there was some kind of joke like, hey, you could be free to do your own thing, or like we used to say, we used to have these conversations in Christianity about polygamy, whether it was okay or not. And I do feel polygamy is biblical, just so you know. But the joke was having multiple wives. If it was okay, well, you know, some woman may say, well, if you gonna do it, then I could do it. And my old thing from a jealous position was, well, no, no, you can't. Now, obviously, that wouldn't be polygamy if she was gonna do it, but it was coming from a jealous point of, no, no, you can't. But now, fast forward to this point in my life, if that's what the woman wanted to do, well, first of all, she probably wouldn't be my woman, number one. But just in that terms of being jealous, my girl is extremely outgoing, extremely. She is that social butterfly, almost like a high school, college cheerleader, that when she walks in the room, people are going to know it. And they're going to know it just by how she acts. And I recognize that is tremendously attractive to other guys. I've had to learn how to, number one, as a man in a dominant position in this relationship, how to contain that. That's number one. But number two is learning how to do that not out of jealousy. Because this is, you said, if another man gonna be bringing it a whole lot better, she's gonna go anyway. That in and of itself is it. But it was cool. It's been good. It's been a great, even developing time for me that, first old dad wants to come up like, why that dude trying to talk to her? And I've had men try to holler at her, or I knew they were trying to holler at her as soon as I walked around and went out to the bathroom. They trying to go ahead
Wow.
because they thinking,
Right.
hey, she works in a very, very, very male dominated space. So for her,
Hmm.
she probably is more comfortable communicating with guys than with a bunch of women at times. So I know as a dude, when we see a woman like that, it's like, oh, just like we all know a white girl to get with brothers. We can all pick that white girl in the crowd, be like, she talked to brothers. Because we
Oh yeah. Oh
recognize
yeah.
it's a
We know.
level of comfort and familiarity
Hmm.
that maybe other ethnicities may not have. And it's kind of the same way with her. And I've had to work through that. And it's good because now, this far into our relationship, we still have this asymmetrical type of relationship, I'll just say, but it's not coming out of a whole bunch of fear like that dude, you better not be talking to that dude. Because like you
Right.
said, I guess I got the reps in. I'm not that old married guy that I was always scared somebody gonna try to take my woman.
Yep. Because hey, if somebody gonna take her, they gonna take her.
They're gonna take and if she wanna go,
That's the big one right there. It's like, you know what? Believe it or not, it is her choice.
yes.
So even you can be as jealous as you want to. If she still chooses, where's your jealousy? You still got it. So what are you gonna do with it? I mean,
Exactly.
realize that if that's something you can't deal with, you have choices.
That's it.
You present it to her as, hey, this is not something I'm comfortable with. Either you make the change or I'm walking. She wants to continue, walk. Be a
That's it.
person of your word. And we want to talk about being firm. And when you walk out that door, she might call you back. She might not.
That's it. That's it.
What's
And I
your
think
it?
what's your it? And I think for me it pays, and this is just pro tip, some of you guys out there, we won't wait to the end because you've already dropped a good one too. It's also understanding who you are in that relationship and what your woman may desire and what your woman may need. Now I'm at a point in my relationship, I can even tell her that dude's smiling at you. He want to talk to you. Now go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
smile at him. And I know when she smile at him, he thinking, oh yeah. And then I tell her, now come back to me. She comes back to me.
That'll nix that right there.
And not only does it nix that, but she also sees that, yeah, I can go out and attract someone else, but my man is so secure, he pulls me back in because he's where I want to be. So maybe she gets full that okay, hey, guys are still looking at me, but my man is right here. know,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I know for some women, they'd be like, heck no, I wouldn't be in that kind of relationship. You're right. Not with me, you wouldn't be, but it's perfect for us
Yes.
because we determine our it.
That's something very crucial that you just said. You know what? Men have a, it was, we always talk about that wandering eye.
Yes.
We as men are visual. We may see somebody, you could do window shopping. It's a matter of doing it respectfully, first of all. Second of all, it's a matter of your woman's comfortable enough with you and you guys have that good relationship. She might be
Yeah.
like, look at her. Look at her right there. Right there. But here's the flip side. Girl, look at him over there. He eyeballing you, girl. Go ahead and give him a little nod. Yeah, now grab my hand. Let's go. Perfect, perfect,
Done.
perfect. You know,
Yes.
I commend you for that because I mean acknowledging first of all that what you used to have and how you've grown and changed the game, so to speak. And I'm not gonna call it a game, but you've gotten a little bit more wiser with the situation and understanding that I'm secure with who I am.
Yes.
If you want that one, he over there.
Yep.
I'm going this way. You either want to grab my hand and come with me or you don't. Your call. But I got the keys.
Yes. And it is just that thing as we get older, you realize it's not up to you to keep somebody. If
Exactly. You not
Tom,
property.
you that's it. I don't care what kind of, like we talked about again, we'll explain the terms. I'm bad at that. If you're the dominant one, if you are the one that is the one that's leading the relationship, managing the relationship, was again dominating in the relationship, or if you are the submissive one, you are the one that is submitting to the dominant. And if you're switch, you go back and forth between the two. But as a dominant, how dominant am I even looking if I'm always worried about somebody else? That in and of itself kind of and Tom Brady is a good example. My boy just left me a message earlier talking about Tim Duncan. These guys are, multi, probably hundreds of times millionaires. But yet Tom Brady he lost his wife to was it the personal trainer or Pilates instructor or something like that. As they say, this is Tom freaking Brady. Tom Brady can pull out all these Super Bowl rings, but
Yeah,
yet
but
he lost
he's
his
the
wife.
man's man.
There it is. There it is. And then you look at again, Tim Duncan, money. So even for the dudes that think it's the body, it's the money. Bottom line, if that woman wants to go, she wants to go. And there ain't nothing you gonna do that's gonna keep her.
Yep.
Or we'll say your body ain't gonna keep her. Your money ain't gonna keep her.
Yep.
What's gonna keep her is the attachment she has to you up here.
Mm-hmm. Her it is not your money.
Bam.
Just
Yes.
like, hey, my it is not your money. I don't care about how much money you make. I don't care about. I want you to be educated, but I don't care about your education. If that makes sense, come with some intelligence, but you don't have to have a official education for that. Just be able to have a good conversation, a mature conversation, be able to talk about some things. Don't talk to me about sports and cars. That ain't my thing. But
Right.
I'm willing to learn if you are, and go from there. But you got to know the it. You got to know your it, and you got to know her it, and they have to match.
Have to match. That's it. That's
Be
it.
the I and the T, whatever you want to call
Right.
it.
And that, that's what I want to go back to the video, but I want to pivot on that point you just made. Um, what I'm learning myself,
Mm-hmm.
and as I'm having kind of back and forth with some of our people commenting on the videos, for some of the guys that think this is a red pill channel, and I could always tell when I read.
Define red pill for some people that don't know what that is.
Sure, thank you. Red pill is obviously for coming from the Matrix movie. You can have a red pill or the blue pill. And so it's the red pill, we'll say they call it proxology, is just a way that it is believed that men understanding women. They understand there are certain things about women, and there's a long list. There's even a vocabulary that goes with it, like AWOL, all women are like that. Monkey branch, a woman who jumps from one man to another one. She's not yours, it's just your turn. It is really a way of the red pill waking men up toward the fantasy that they had about women when they were younger, much like he pointed out in the video. However, now the red pill movement, there have been movies, documentaries made about it. It's its own other thing, but that's kind of like how the red pill started. The blue pill, that would have been considered a man. That would have been a guy who was, let's say, content with, again, the blue pill like the Matrix. You're just in the Matrix. You don't want to know the reality. You want to still see women as sugar and spice and everything nice. happy wife, happy life. Leave me alone, dude. I'm just happy that she, touches my Johnson every now and again and maybe make my favorite meal and blow me on my birthdays. That's my life and I'm cool with that. They might call that guy a blue pill. And the red pill guy says, no, I want to start maybe living for myself. And so many people think that how we talk, oh, this is a red pill thing. But as I said, the red pill has gotten off into a whole other galaxy. And so what I want to
Yeah.
bring it back to is I'm looking at the comments, and I think what is interesting to me is a lot of guys don't think that they can have the type of relationship that they want. And that's probably been the biggest lesson for me, that it's not just with one woman that I could have the type of relationship that I want. I'm finding that I could have the type of relationship that I want with multiple women, which goes again, it's not me bragging about anything. It's that I'm finding what matches up with me. So it's not just because I think one-itis is a red pill term, meaning when we were all young and dumb, we found that one woman and it's kind of like an infection. She was the only thing we could focus on. So this isn't a form of one-itis where this one woman matches up the best with me. It may be 3 or 4 women that matches up the best with me. Who knows? But the point is, I've learned that I can have the type of relationships that I really want, great relationships with women. And that's why I can say we're not a red pill channel of the red pill that's out there now, because, hey, I see the best out of women. So I ain't got to spend all the time bashing them. I'm going to tell the truth. But I don't have to spend here bashing all these 304s. All they do is because I really see some good sides with women.
Oh yeah. I mean, when we have the option is women. I mean, what's the other option? There is no other option. So you either find a way to like it or not, and find those good pieces. Because if you want to be with them, that's your option.
Yes.
Yeah. Not knocking the other option, but that's just not my option.
Right. For our show purposes.
Exactly.
That'd be somebody else's show. Yeah. You nailed it. For our show, the options that we have to deal with, we look at it, hey, like you said, in a way, it is a game because you understand, hey, this is what I'm after. What kind of man am I going to be to get it?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to the video. Oh, go ahead.
Go. No. Go. You got.
Let's say you ignore the math. Let's say you decide to try anyway, and you're going to put yourself back out there. Here's what's waiting for you. You download the apps because that's how people date now. You're not meeting someone at church or through friends. You're on Tinder.
Hold on. Feel free to jump in if you want to, because I know this is your lane for sure.
Bumble, Match, creating a profile, reducing yourself to photos and a bio, competing with 500 other men for attention. You match with someone, great, except she's also matched with 50 other guys. You're not having a conversation. You're auditioning, performing, trying to be interesting enough that she doesn't ghost you for one of the other 49. You make it to a date, coffee, lunch, whatever, and here's what you discover. She hasn't done any work on herself. She hasn't reflected on why her past relationships failed. She's decided it was the men's fault and moved on. She's got a list of requirements. You need to be financially stable, which means funding her retirement dreams. You need to be available for her schedule, her needs, her adult kids drama. You need to be understanding of her moods, her stress, her emotional baggage she has no intention of unpacking. And what's she bringing? Her presence, that's it. She exists, and you should be grateful for the opportunity to earn her attention. You're 65 years old. You've built a career, earned respect, proven your value, and you're supposed to audition for someone who's offering nothing but companionship in exchange for everything you've built. This is what's available if you choose to date again. A game where you compete endlessly for someone who's never satisfied, where you prove yourself over and over to someone who's always keeping her options open, where the prize is more of the same dynamics that exhausted you the first time. You look at this and you think, why would I do this? What am I gaining that's worth this indignity? And you can't come up with an answer. Here's something nobody tells you. Your testosterone declining isn't a curse, it's a gift. When you were 25, your biology made you stupid. Testosterone flooded your system and overrode your judgment. You'd see an attractive woman and your brain would do everything possible to rationalize pursuing her. You'd tolerate behavior you shouldn't tolerate, ignore red flags you shouldn't ignore, all because your chemistry was screaming at you to pursue. That override is gone now. Your testosterone has dropped, and suddenly you can see clearly. You can look at a woman and actually evaluate, is she pleasant? Is she reasonable? Does she add value to my life or extract it? Your brain does this calculation without your hormones hijacking the result. And what does your brain conclude? Not worth it. The companionship she offers doesn't compensate for the peace you'd lose. The physical intimacy doesn't justify the emotional exhaustion. The relationship doesn't improve your life enough to justify disrupting it. People act like something's wrong with you because you're not driven to pursue anymore. But nothing's wrong. You're finally thinking straight. You're making decisions based on logic instead of chemistry, reality instead of fantasy, what actually improves your life instead of what your hormones tell you you need. This is what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to reach a point where you're not controlled by urges that don't serve your actual interests, where you can choose peace over sex, where you can prioritize your well-being over biology's demands. You've finally evolved past the programming that was making you act against your own best interests. After it ended, after the divorce, after she died, after you walked away, something happened. You started building something you didn't even realize you were creating. Peace. You wake up and the house is quiet. Not the tense silence of unspoken resentment, just quiet, peaceful. Your coffee, your morning, your schedule. No one's mood to manage before you've even opened your eyes. Your day belongs to you. Work if you're working, projects if you're retired. Whatever you decide matters. And when you come home, it's to the same piece you left. Your stuff is where you left it. No one's rearranged anything. No one's decided your space needs to be different. Your evening is yours. Cook what you want or don't cook at all. Watch what interests you with no negotiation. Call friends without someone getting territorial, or sit in complete silence. The time is yours. There's no compromise, no accommodation, no managing someone else's expectations. You started noticing things you couldn't see before. How much energy you have when you're not absorbing someone else's negativity. How much better you sleep when you're not worried about saying the wrong thing tomorrow. How much more patience you have with life when you're not spending it all on one person. You rediscovered hobbies you'd abandoned. Maybe you started working on your car again, or fishing, or just reading without interruption. Things that were taking time away from us suddenly became possible again. And you realized these things weren't luxuries. They were parts of yourself you'd sacrificed, parts you're not giving up again. You noticed your health improving, blood pressure down, stress down, sleep quality up. Turns out, chronic relationship stress was destroying your body. The doctors never told you that, but your body knew. And now that the source is gone, you're healing. Your money is yours. You spend it on what you value, tools, trips, hobbies, whatever. You're not funding someone else's lifestyle, not paying for experiences you don't want, not buying gifts for occasions you don't care about. Every dollar goes where you decide. Your weekends are yours. No obligations to anyone's family. No social events you hate. No honey-do lists. No projects that benefit someone else. Just time. Pure, unscheduled, gloriously selfish time. You reconnected with friends.
Man, he flows from one to another. It's hard to find a spot to stop in there, but I'm gonna stop there. I want to be this kind of be our closing segment, but thus far from that portion of what you heard, anything you like to add? There are actually some things I want to argue against, but you can go first.
No, I think he put a lot of things into it, and the thing is that there's no balance to some of the stuff that he's talking about. It's a lot of negativity. I mean, I see at the bottom. I mean, the title says why, but nothing in there says, you know what? There's options. It's a
Hmm.
matter of the way it's presented is no, 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 and there's very little yes, yes. I mean, yeah, all those things he talks about is fantastic as far as I'm saying fantastic as far as identifying that those are some things you could give up, but those are also some things that you can gain because as men, we may not know what we like and we need that to be introduced. I'm not a spontaneous person. So I love a woman that's spontaneous, for example. They can do something. I'm not a person, I'm not a foodie. I love a woman that can decide on food for us, for example. I love taking direction and taking charge, but some things I'm not good at. You want this building, want that put up? I engineer the hell out of something to make it happen. But you want me to go shopping for us for some food? No, I'm going down the street where my car can go through a drive-through and I'm picking up some food. Period.
Yes.
We can go out, but we're not going to nothing fancy because I don't care for fancy. I'm not that guy. I'm not a foodie. I don't find the value in stuff like that. However, it's back to the it. I know every now and again we have to do that if that's what she desires. But a home cooked meal, we want to talk about love language. Shoot, if that was one of them, that's number one for me. I love a home cooked meal. Love it. Love to be in the kitchen with it too. I'm not sitting
Mhm.
at the TV while she's cooking. Oh no, we're gonna try to burn some food up first. we got then we're gonna try to worry about something else because like to cook up something in the kitchen.
Now you
But
ready to go? She just spoke your love language.
hell, for real, you know. But and I guess that's the thing though, is that we talk about the it. Those are things that could be part of your it. And we always talk about two becoming one. Well, why is it two becoming one? Well, that means I'm lacking in some areas and I need her to build me up. And
Mhm.
so yeah, we could always have that imbalance, but the idea is that we want to have more good
Yes.
than bad. I mean, nobody's perfect, so you're gonna have some downtime. It's a matter of, well, how are you getting physically abused? Are you doing something that you just can't do no have no's to anymore? You know, if it's a no, it's a no, it's a no. How many no's are you gonna have? Is it detrimental? It's always a balancing act, always a balancing act. And the
Yes.
video pointed out a lot of things. It's just it doesn't talk about the flip side because as a
Yeah.
man, or as a woman, we are imbalanced in our own individual existence. That's why we were made to pair up in some way. Pair up, whether it's poly or whatever. You still are
Right.
paired. You're not by yourself. That's just
Yes.
my thoughts about it. I mean, it's good. It's a good video. It just bam, bam, bam. No, 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 no. I'm for it. If it's for somebody, go for it. I'm not. I'm saying I would like it, but even if I'm not, there's options. I know I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to say my way is the way it should be all the way. And I think that's how that video is being presented. But it does say why. It does say some options, but it's just too much on no, 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 no. You got to bring some of that back to say options. I mean, we halfway through the video, and I haven't heard anything positive.
Right. You make a great point because I didn't even write that down. So let's watch it one more time, and I want to skip to the end to see if there's a list of some things that are the positives. Because I think you made a great point. What I wrote down that I would disagree with is the knowledge and the testosterone because he's right. I think I've heard women say that on one interview that a when he drops down in testosterone as they get older, they don't want to be in bed nearly as much. They don't want to be intimate nearly as much. So if a man has lower testosterone, you guys know I talk about this all the time. Got a video on the channel with my brother. Please check it out. I can even put a link down in the description. The views for that video are not that good because the algorithm doesn't pick it up. But we talked about 2 hours on why men need to be on testosterone and the benefits, even some of the side effects. So check out that video. But for him to assume that, well, let me go back. There were some women that said, look, I'm not trying to be getting it in. I'm not trying to be sleeping with my husband that much as old as we are. I'm going through menopause. I don't want it as much. So I don't want him wanting it as much because the dude is still wanting it in his mind. But then even if his T levels get low, he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But when those T levels get raised up, and now women are getting on hormonal therapy as well, so her libido may be coming back up also. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
can speak for myself. I'll be getting my blood work back next week, actually, and I usually run anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500. One of I'll say my boys told me his labs recently, and he's in his upper 40s. Lab's been at 1,500 for like the last few years. So for the guy to assume that, well, we got low testosterone, not these days. A lot of guys are getting their testosterone treated. And now in the midst of that, I think that kind of gives us even more of an incentive to have the type of relationship that we want to have and go for it. I can't lie. I tell my doctor all the time. I walked in almost in tears because of what was going on in my marriage. The very first time I met him, and he was like, "We're gonna get you optimized," as they call it. I do think it might not have been a causal relationship, meaning that it made me do it. Because of that, I ended up moving toward divorce. But I think there's probably a correlation that instead of me being like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I need to find an Iron Father video to help me. I became a man that said, bump this. I ain't having this in my life. I don't care how long I've been married to this woman. Don't care how many kids we got. I don't care how much I'm about to lose financially. I'm a man and I'm going to live as a man. And as I even said to my own sons, I would rather you see me as a man that may do some things you don't like, other than to watch your father be a big puss and see him get trampled on. Let me be the other example of being a man. And I probably was able to take that position a lot more sternly and take action because my testosterone levels were a little bit higher.
Yeah. I mean that's a good point. I mean it's I'm not into the medical aspect of it as you are, and that's a great thing that you do have the other additional piece that you can talk to that. But it does make a difference. I mean, if you even taking the supplements in order to build your own stuff, testosterone up, you may see those differences as far as your energy level and by
Hmm.
itself. Let alone your
Hmm.
thought process becomes a little bit more clear. But
Yes.
I mean, he made the comment about back in the day, they were saying you thinking with two heads, and you're thinking with the wrong one, kind of situation of what he was alluding to back in the day, as far as
Right.
having those different conversations. But here's the side of piece. Well, how do you deal with the fact that women are emotional? They're always
Yes.
bringing that. So when
Yes. Yes.
that's always there, and to even be in a relationship says that you need a level of emotion. I consider myself to be anybody that knows me knows that I'm probably real freaking emotionless. I make decisions based on lack of emotion or no emotions because emotions change. My decisions shouldn't. So that's how I make decisions. So it's not that I don't have emotions. I just don't make decisions based off of them. Why? Just go from there. And that's back to
Mhm.
that jealousy piece. But so we have to be, as we talked about before, the dominant one. If that's our it, again,
Mhm.
those that are not, that's your call. But if that's her, and if she's coming with the emotion, we have to be able to juggle those pieces and understand how to present information that touches on her emotion, but is also logical and moves us in that direction. But again, that's just that balancing act. So we can go back
Mm.
to the video and find that out. I just think it was just a lot of no, no, no's.
One after another.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw one more thing in, man. You
sure.
you hit on something because you're right. He's talking about some areas, and let me say he could have a MGTOW. I've seen some of his videos before. Now, MGTOW is men going their own way. So a
Okay.
MGTOW, that's going to be a guy that he still has some red pill ideology that women are, I know the real deal about a woman's nature that I wasn't taught. Where a
Mm-hmm.
red pill dude may say, but I still want a woman. A MGTOW dude to be like, and I'm broad brushing it because I know I like Coach Greg Adams. He's a MGTOW guy, but he's just like, I ain't getting married again, and I get with a woman, I'll pay her, but I ain't gonna have no woman. And but then some MGTOW dudes are like, it's that we don't want to have nothing to do with women at all. And so that could be the type of channel he has, just to be
Okay.
fair. But I think when what you said that was key because I ran into that recently in my relationship. A woman's emotions are always going to be there. So if he's
Always.
not MGTOW and he's still just complaining about a woman's emotion, good luck with that. Because then, like you said, then what's your other option? I guess you
Mm-hmm.
might start seeing dudes then, because or you ain't even gonna get with an AI bot because the AI bot is gonna have emotion built into it, I'm sure. So if you're dealing with a woman, you are going to have to take on that emotional labor and load. And yes, it should be calculated in whatever you're going for. So if
Sure.
your it is mental peace, yes, your mental peace is going to decline when you start seeing women, simply because you're going to have to take on, like he did say, her adult kids or her kids in general. You're going to hear about them, and we as dudes don't be caring about hearing about no kids. I mean, let's be honest. But she's going to want to talk about her kids. She's going to want to talk about her job. She's going to want to talk about those things because she's a woman. And so I'll briefly share something that happened with me and my girl recently. We're planning a trip coming up, and I made this mistake, topic for another show. One mistake I made in my marriage was being too egalitarian, too equal. What I probably didn't realize is the stress that this might have caused my ex-wife. But I learned now with my current girl, what my ex couldn't do, probably express that. My current girl was able to express that. I don't know if I mentioned this last show or not, but I'll repeat it again. Bottom line was, I was getting the hotel. She was looking at the flights. I said, I want to fly nonstop. And then she was like, oh, I really don't care. It doesn't matter that much. And I'm like, nope, I want to go nonstop. I'll be bougie when it comes to flying because I don't like stops. We can't miss a plane, etc. And then this went on for a couple of days. And then she said, I just want to let you know, you gave me a lot of anxiety when you threw in the nonstop thing and blah, blah, blah. Now, old me might have even been like, what you having anxiety for? What you tripping for? I'm doing my part. But I also picked up when she said this. She told me this after I also gave her a brief rundown on what tires she should buy for her car. That she probably only wanted to know two things: where do I go and how much I should pay? But of course, I added in there, these would be best because it doesn't rain where we at. And if you want, these last 60,000 miles. And she didn't say it, but I bet that caused a little bit of anxiety, which then took her back to the other arrangements we were making on the travel when she expected, because I know my woman. And so it actually led to a good conversation because what I realized is what you insinuated too. That's that emotional part of her that she's going to deal with things differently than I'm going to deal with things.
Mhm.
I am that container for her emotions, but there is a difference. And one thing that we're both doing right now is what here I am the container. But baby, who you are, I got you, and who you are goes inside here. Now I can expand to take on more, but what are you putting in? And what you putting in is made differently than the container. So in this case, the container is maybe I have to be the one to make the flight arrangements because I want the nonstop flight. And I told her
Mhm.
why I want the nonstop. I told her why I don't mind doing that because I'm also in charge of protecting her because I'm also making the hotel. I got to figure out, well, what are we going to do if we land at 6 a.m., but we can't check in till 3 and we don't have a rental car because I'm getting a rental car,
Mhm.
then what do we I know that's something I take on. But now what is she going to take on in that? But it's not egalitarian where you do this part and I'm going to do this part because we both have a different reaction to our parts. If I make it too even, like I did, or like she was even down with doing, okay, I'll get this and you get that. Once I started putting in some standards to make this trip what I felt was more efficient. That caused her that anxiety. And it was
Mhm.
realizing that, okay, I'm willing to take that on then. I'll get the flight. And when I say get it, I'm not saying I'm gonna pay for it. I mean, I will book it because I'm the
Mhm.
geeky nerd that'll spend all the time comparing flights and comparing which hotel and the ratings. That's something that doesn't cause me anxiety because I'd rather be prepared and make a right decision. But for her, she would just rather be like, well, this is going and this for the price I want. Let's book it. That doesn't work too well for me. And it was
Yeah.
learning that, realizing that, but that's dealing with a woman. Why am I going to
Yeah,
change?
but
That's dealing with a woman.
you said it as well. I mean, it's being able to, like you said, it wasn't before because your ex wife couldn't voice it, so she didn't have that level of communication,
Yes.
effective communication,
Communication.
to bring it back in to understand that we have to talk about our it. It is something that changes and can change daily. So if you're not communicating what it is and that it changed when we brought on this situation, you're going to have issues and you're going to have that combat or whatever. Relationships by itself is a full-time job. You have to be willing to put time in order to get the piece you want out of it. And if you're not, you're going to get what you get. Garbage in, garbage out. So, and it was, again, I'm all for someone being able to acknowledge that, you know what? I wasn't comfortable with that situation, but
Yes.
this is what makes me more comfortable. And let's see how we can make it happen and work it out. And it worked out. And now
Yeah.
going forward, that's another tool you have in your toolbox in your that can fit in your flask, if you will, in your analogy, and say, now I know what you put in this. Now I know how to
Mhm.
mold it accordingly to make it fit easier, better, so that it's not less stressful. And we both have our good level of peace going
Yes.
forward.
Yes. You
All
nailed
right,
it.
that's good.
You nailed it. You nailed it. And I gotta say, guys, especially again, if you are in that point in your marriage or if you're done, it's gonna be harder for the dudes that may be in the process of a divorce. It's also being able to admit when we mess up on the leadership side. And that's something he didn't necessarily get into quite, but he kind of touched on it. Sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
just make mistakes because lack of knowledge is lack of knowledge, not
Absolutely.
because of testosterone. If we would have knew a little bit more, that's what Iron Father is all about. So for you young dudes listening to us, I hope your testosterone doesn't override the knowledge we're trying to give you. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the time we make mistakes, it's just because we don't have the knowledge. And we don't have somebody older that's saying, hey man, this is where I messed up. And that's the part I'm even saying I can look back in my previous relationships and say, I should have probably handled that differently. I can see why she acted such and such way.
There's some fairness to that.
Yeah, I ain't taking all the blame now. Don't get it twisted. Let me jump to the end of the video. Some stuff I had nothing to do with. Let's
Right.
take him to the last. All right, 20. Let's give him the last 5 minutes and see where he ends up going with this.
Satisfy someone else. You're choosing a life designed around what you value, not what
See,
someone else requires. A life that serves your goals, not someone else's expectations. A life that protects your peace instead of sacrificing it. That's what you're choosing, not loneliness, but ownership of your life, your time, your peace. Let me tell you what you're not missing, because people act like you're sacrificing something valuable, like you're missing out on some great experience. Let's be honest about what you're actually avoiding. You're not missing the drama, the manufactured crises that need your immediate attention, the friend conflicts you'll be expected to mediate, the family issues that somehow become your responsibility, the emotional emergencies that always seem to happen right when you've settled in for a quiet evening. You're not missing the testing because that's what modern women do. They test constantly, cancelling plans to see if you'll complain, mentioning other men to see if you'll get jealous, creating small problems to see how you'll react, pushing boundaries to see what you'll tolerate. It never ends. Every day is an evaluation. Every interaction is a test you didn't know you were taking. You're not missing the surveillance, the questions about where you've been, who you were talking to, why you didn't text back immediately, why you seem distracted, why you're not as attentive as you were last month. The constant monitoring of your behavior, your mood, your attention level. You're not missing living under that microscope. You're not missing her adult children's problems becoming your problems. The son who can't of finances that always seems to benefit her more than you, the vulnerability of tying your financial security to someone else's decisions. You're not missing the comparison because she'll compare you to every other man. Her ex-husband who might have been terrible, but at least he did this one thing better. The men she dated before who were more romantic, more attentive, more something. The hypothetical perfect man she could have if only you were different. You're not missing being constantly measured against an impossible standard. This is what people are really telling you to go back to when they say you should date again. This is what they're saying you're missing. This is what they think is better than the peace you've built. And you've spent decades proving yourself, providing for others, compromising your needs. You've done your time, met every obligation, played the game long enough to know it's rigged. Now you get to be selfish with what's left. You get to protect what you've built instead of surrendering it. You get to live for yourself instead of for someone else's approval or comfort. Would you rather die alone than date again? That's not tragedy.
Well, doesn't sound like he changed his tune as it went on.
No, almost woman's haters club over there. I mean, I don't know. He's got some good points, but man, he was hard on the women, and you're not getting this. It's like, well, you know what? When you have somebody else in your life, they got to take on your shit too. It ain't like you perfect, because some of the things he talked about comes with a male aspect just as well. We got adult kids too that got issues. You know what I mean? For example, and we have our level of drama, the stuff that we supposed to be able to come home and vent about our job and be vulnerable at home. Well, that's us also giving our emotional aspects to our significant other to help carry our load. Those things are missing too. So again, I think to your previous point about the men Magnata, whatever you call it,
MGTOW.
MGTOW. That looks like that for sure.
Man,
He's
I
got good
had,
points, but it's just one. It's 100% one sided.
yes, he wrote down exactly what I just said. Me and my woman are working on now, and I made me another diagram. So not to put our business out in the street, but two things. Number one, great book. Shout out to Justin at the Dominance Academy. Justin talks often about the man being the container, and actually, this guy
Hold it still. What is that?
Anton Fullman, The Heart of Dominance.
Okay.
And he talks as well about the Dom being the container. And I think in his analysis, if I use back to instead of using my flask here, it's a water bottle, y'all. Ain't no alcohol, I don't drink. But as the man, if that's your relationship dynamic, you are this container. That woman can be inside that container. He is making the assumption that all of these things here, her kids, her money, her friends that you got to deal with, her job and you got to hear about her problems, her emotions that you got to hear about. Who said that got to be in the container? I don't have to take that on. And I could have it as part of my document, my constitution in dealing with her that, see, baby, I take care of what's in here. I contain this. I don't contain this. So if she got some kids, going back to our stepfather discussion, if if taking care of her kids is a no deal for your peace and the life that you've made at 50, 55, 60 years old, then who said you got to do that? You
Right.
can say, nope. Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm 30, 35, maybe. You marry somebody that got some kids, they 5 or 6 years old. It may be a little harder to do that. But when you're looking at your own 401k in retirement, I think it's okay for you to say, I ain't taking care of your kids. Because if I
Right.
had some, you wouldn't be paying my child support. So
Right.
those things like that he's saying, oh, basically that comes with a woman if you start dating her again. That is only if you're trying to set up, I use the old term, garbage term, codependency. If you're trying to be another codependent dude again, where you run in with your cape on, saving her from her problems, from her friends, from her emotional lows, from all these other things he listed, from kids, money, friends, job, emotions. Nobody said you had to take that on in your relationship. You don't have to be the container for those things.
Correct. And I'm gonna come back to your original point. It's about what you define as your it. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be everything. She can present them as like, baby girl, I can't do that. That's not
Yes.
something I can't. I don't have the mental fortitude, capability, the strength, whatever, or I just simply don't give a damn. I,
Yes.
I your call. Your call. Be the man that you want to be, like you said before. Know who you want to be, know what you can handle, know what you want to handle, and realize that there is a level of strength that we all can carry, and sometimes too much breaks us down.
Yes.
And
Yes.
say no.
Say no. Man, I think one of the funniest things, probably my girl now, when we had a conversation, we had first started dating, and she asked me something. Well, she had asked me a bunch of times, but my common reply was, that's for your boyfriend. So, because I was putting it out real fast. That ain't my job. That's for your boyfriend. You want to go do something? That ain't me. That's for your boyfriend. And so she later said, that kind of hurts when you tell me that's for my boyfriend because it sounds like you're trying to push me away. And I did soften up with that because I was definitely, no, you staying at arm's length. Now, we wasn't no issues. We getting along. Everything was great. But that was a way of me saying, I'm going to contain this part, but there's some
Mhm,
other things I ain't containing.
mhm.
And, now I am her boyfriend, but even still, there are certain things that are part of her life. That's her life. And so, men, don't be ashamed to now start living life on your own terms. He is putting things truly in two different categories, saying, oh, you can't have a woman. And you also, if you got a woman, you can't live life on your own terms. I think both of us will testify and say, that ain't true. You can
No.
still live life on your own terms,
Oh yeah.
even if you got a woman.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, again, I think he hit some good points and he had some valid points, but it makes it sound like it's just one or the other. It's mutually exclusive. If you this,
Yeah.
you're losing everything.
Yes.
Everything. No.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, that's it, man. Did you have any other actionable items you want to throw out there to the guys on
No,
these
man.
topics, whether it's stepfathers, or even just this? What is that it?
Yeah, that's a good. I like that. That's very crucial. I mean, when you're talking about getting with in another relationship and going forward, marriage, whatever. And again, we were talking about marriage in general. That it is vital. You need to know, and we always every segment we talk about, guys, know who you are.
Yes.
Know who you are. This it is saying the same thing. Know who you are and know what you want. And if you decide you want to get back into a marriage, know what a marriage looks like, but also know what it doesn't look like. So that
Mm.
you can decide,
Mm.
I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with your 25-year-old son living in our basement. No, that's done. No, no, don't no son husbands here.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is. You know, I'm not going to contribute to your daughter's $200 monthly rent allocation because she can't afford it. No, I was at 18 on my own. She better figure it out. How
Mhm.
about move to somewhere you can afford? Get a roommate. That ain't my problem. You
Yes. Yes.
not coming out of our pocket because the money you put towards somebody else means that I got to now put it back in. Mm-mm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
draw your lines, understand your boundaries.
Man, amen. I'll just throw in on my side. Do not keep buying into the narrative that to be involved with a woman, you have to give everything that you are and that you're building. This is
Right.
the great time about starting over at 50. Again, don't date like you're 15. So now you choose who you want to come into your life. Now you choose the boundaries you want into your life, or you choose what you're going to let her get away with. But again, I got to piggyback what Derrick said. You have to first know those things for yourself. You didn't know that at 15 because
Right.
again, you were just happy to have touch some booty and some tits. That was it. But now you should be over that at least, I hope. And so if you are, know that you can have the relationship you want and stop thinking that you have to have the relationship like the one you had. Most of you don't want to probably get out here and date, or maybe you just want to get married because you still want to follow that same script, that same playbook of what you used prior. Don't do it, or you will have the same kind of relationship that you had
Exactly.
previously. Because a lot of us are having some great relationships, not with one girl, but with multiple women. That doesn't necessarily mean at the same time. The point we're saying is that there's a level of cooperation that when a lot of you guys may even be in the comment section saying, no, but these women, no, but these women, those are the women that you're constantly dealing with. So when are you going to get something different? Because if you think
Right.
they're going to change, it's not going to happen. You got to be the one to change. And then you will change who you bring into your life. And you find things go a lot smoother.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, man. So good stuff, man. We're gonna close this out. I'm gonna leave with one thing, if I may. But did you have just you? I'll give you the goodbye, and then I'm gonna just leave with one more thing.
No, I mean, hey, I like to say I like to say it all as I'm going through it and not have to necessarily sum it up per se, but I mean, hey, if you want to get back into it, you got to know where you're starting from because you as the individual are the starting point. She's
Hmm.
adding to it and part of that journey and that destination as well. But you need to know how you're going to start and how you're going to trickle down and continue through. Um, it starts with you because it's we talking about you. On her end, it starts with her. And she's got to do the same thing as it relates to you. But we're talking to the men folk up in here.
Yes.
So it starts with you, sir.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna close out on something kind of heavy. And props to my oldest son. He's about to be 36 coming up. Man, this is where all this gray coming from, boy. Woof. He
I
about to
don't know
be
what you're talking about.
36. Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking
man, and my hips hurt and everything. Um,
about.
but he didn't know this topic, but he left a message recently, and he was just sharing some wisdom to his brothers and cousins, and it was basically you got to know that what you fight for and maintaining it has to be beyond that woman. And so there may be some guys out there when we talk about is it worth it, you may even be to that point of wondering, man, I feel like I done lost everything because your it was her. Maybe your it was a family. Maybe your it, Derrick, you touched on pressure that dudes may be under. And,
Mhm.
I just want to say, guys, if there are any of you out there that are wondering, is it worth it? And the it you're now thinking about is your life. Is my life worth losing her? Is my life worth, seeing her walk away, seeing her with somebody else, seeing somebody playing with my kids or her taking away my kids? And I don't think my life is worth it. I want you to reach out to someone. The number for those who think about self-deletion is 988. That is 988. Please talk to someone because what we're trying to do here is to let you guys know, what is worth it? You are. You are worth it.
Absolutely.
You are worth it. And I don't care if you look around you at everybody else's relationship and you're like, I don't want that. I don't think I could. It seems like everybody's unhappy, so I'm going to be like this and it's never going. That's not true. That's not true. We're trying to give you practical tools so you can wake up tomorrow and start building a better day, start building a better life mentally for yourself. Hey, we ain't saying you're gonna walk outside and somebody gonna have, your bank account gonna come in. It's like, man, who dropped 100 G's in my bank account? I ain't saying that's gonna happen. But I'm saying that you will wake up tomorrow knowing that your it is not a woman, knowing that your it is not just kids. Because as my son said, what do you do when the kids get older? They're gonna leave. Now, what are you living for? You can't live for her. You can't live for those kids. You have to live for you. And as somebody who just got off a plane a few hours ago, we say it all the time. And I know you're a master traveler, sir. What do they tell you when you get on a flight and that flight attendant is in the front telling everybody instead is on their phone. But what's that flight attendant telling people before they take off?
Buckle up.
That and what else? That mask.
Oh yeah, how to survive.
Yes. And they tell
How to
you
survive.
put your mask on first before you help somebody else.
How to survive. You got to take care. You can't take care of nobody else if you're not around.
Yes. Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
For real.
Stop trying to save. And I think in my man's video, that's the downside. He brought up a whole lot of things that's almost putting you back in that mode of saving everybody else. And he's saying, well, you got to cut everybody else off to save yourself. Doesn't have to be that way because a lot of you are married with kids. You aren't going to cut everybody else off. But you can save yourself and save yourself first. 988. If you are ever thinking about doing yourself any harm, save yourself first. And you can do that. And you will be a much better man to then help someone else. But don't think you have to sacrifice all just because your it was them, because they are not your it. With that, brother, thank you again, man. Thank you again.
I love that summary. That ending piece was spot on. Beautiful.
Thanks, man. Until next time, we will holler at y'all later. Before I leave, check out the podcast, Iron Father Radio. I'll put a link down in the description for those who can't necessarily watch the videos. Check out the podcast. Let us know how you feel about the video, anything that we commented on. Thanks for all the other comments. Let me mention one more I just recently looked at too.
Sure.
That commenter was, see, I've lost it now, so I probably can't find it. That comment, caption the great 4582. He said, right, let's parent these kids together. Hey man, appreciate your comment. I won't jump around and find some other ones, but that was the one right up under the other comment we had. So if you have some comments on the video, again, please let us know. We love the discourse, and definitely we'll even put it on air and respond even a little bit more in case we didn't get a chance to touch on everything. So with that, appreciate y'all time. Appreciate those listening on the playback for everything. And we'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of the week.